The worst thing you could do is pay a collection company that doesn't actually own the debt. And you would be surprised how many people fall into this category or fall into this trap. So typically, what will happen is a collection company will be contacting you consistently. Now, you may say, why would I pay a collection company? I don't even know who they are. Well, a lot of times they actually have a lot of information on the debt that you may actually have had dealt with. So let's say, for example, you had a TELUS account and it went delinquent. And now the collection company, they have software to where they can actually pull up information about this account. But this does not mean that they actually went through the process of purchasing that debt from TELUS. All it means is that they have access to this information. Because what happens is when you go delinquent on an account and it becomes a charge off account, it becomes public information. Because in the example of our situation here, TELUS wrote it off as a tax write off when it became a charge off, and they may not have yet sold that account over to a collection company. So let's just say a XYZ collection company can now see that debt. So what they'll begin to do is contact you about this debt. And you would be under the assumption that they actually own the debt because they're bringing up all the right points. They may have the right balance. They may have your name. They may have all this information that's convincing you that XYZ collection company actually owns that TELUS collection account. And what many people will do is go ahead and they will pay XYZ collection. But this is a huge mistake. This actually happened recently to someone that actually recently took jumped onto our services. So before they started using our services, they paid a collection company. And then what happened later was the original creditor came back and said, "Hey, if you do not pay this account within the next week, we are going to sell this debt to a collection company." The client then came to us before actually joining our services and said, "Hey team, this company, I already paid this collection company with another collection company. Why are they going to sell this over to a collection company?" Well, what actually happened was the original creditor never sold that debt, okay? And that collection company that they have been working with to repay that debt, they never owned the collection account. And so this is what can happen. You could be wasting your time and money dealing with a collection company that doesn't actually own the debt. So you have to be extremely careful. That's why, as a consumer, you need to be aware of your rights. What is it that protects you as a consumer within Canada? Well, we know that a collection company, as soon as they contact us, we can request that they provide us with proof of debt. They need to provide us with the original signed agreement that we signed with the original creditor. Now, if you remember earlier from what I mentioned in this video, they can get a lot of information just by having platforms or software to have access to your information. But what they won't have if they don't actually purchase the debt is the original signed agreement, because that actually does not get passed over unless they properly purchase the debt. So this is what we can actually use to protect us. So let's just say, for example, XYZ collection company decides to contact you about the TELUS charge-off account. You would then say, "Hey, collection company, please provide me with proof of debt. I need to see the original user agreement that I signed with TELUS. I don't acknowledge his debt. I don't know who you are, and I don't recognize his debt. Please provide me with proof of debt." And then I would be more than happy to move forward with it. Okay. Now, then from that point, they should be responding to you. If they don't respond to you, they can't continue to pursue that debt. Okay. That's another law that protects you. As soon as the consumer requests for proof of debt from that collection company, all collection efforts need to end. So even if you're already in the process of paying that collection company, this is a way that you can protect yourself and free up some of your capital by starting the process of you disputing that collection account. So if you're already paying a collection company and you go back to them and say, "Hey, you know what? I don't feel comfortable moving forward with making these payments. I need to see proof of debt before I complete the settlement again because I don't recognize this." If the collection company legitimately owns the debt, they should be more than happy to provide you with that documentation. But if they are hesitant or not willing to do so, that's how we know that this is a major red flag and you need to be careful because the last thing you want is to be spending $1,000 with this collection company to settle the debt, or hopefully if you're working with a collection company, it should be paid for deletion. But most people settle the debt. So we'll just say settle the debt. So if you're spending $1,000 to settle the debt with that collection company, the last thing you want is tell us to come back a month or maybe even a year later and say, hey, client, if you don't pay this debt back within 30 days, we're going to sell this to a collection company. And then they sell it to a collection company, and now you actually have to pay another $1,000. And now instead of you only paying the $1,000 that you would have had to do in the first place, now you're paying $2,000. Okay. And are you going to actually hire a lawyer, spend thousands of dollars to seek litigation against, right? So you have to ask yourself these things. And once you get down to it, you're going to realize that you want to do things right in the first place before you just start giving these random companies your money. You need to do your due diligence, especially when we're dealing with debt. I am not the person that's telling you to avoid the debt. If you actually owe the debt, then I'm always going to encourage you to take care of it. But there is a process and a way to go about it so that you can protect yourself as a consumer. There is a difference because one is going to help you rebuild your credit, and come back from a time of where you may not have been in a great place. And the other is a complete waste of time. And the complete waste of time is you not doing your due diligence, paying random collection companies, and just to find out that you actually didn't pay the debt or the debt actually hasn't been satisfied. Right. So we want to be smart in what we're doing. So the first thing that we want to do is first request proof of debt before we ever pay a collection company. If that collection company is able to produce proper proof of debt, we want to kindly request pay for deletion. Pay for deletion is an agreement between you, the consumer, and the collection company that as soon as you pay off in full what you owe in one shot, they are then going to remove that collection account off of your credit report. This does two things. It relieves you of the debt, and two, it improves your credit because now that collection account that has a bunch of late payments tied to it is removed off of your credit report. If they do not have proof of debt, they don't have the signed contract, then we need to start requesting that they remove that collection account off of our credit report because they do not have the correct documents to actually collect on this debt, and it's a violation of your consumer rights. You can also turn to Equifax and TransUnion or whichever credit bureau that collection account is reporting to and start the disputing process to work towards getting it removed off of your credit report. But the worst thing you could do, again, is just to be paying, and not doing the proper due diligence. Now, if you're currently in the process of dealing with the collection company and you don't know what to do, or maybe it's overwhelming and you don't have the time to do it, this is where my company comes into play. We do all the work for you. All you need to do is email us info@kennyjohnsonuniversity.com and we could book a consultation call, walk you through the process of how we do things, and maybe we could take over and help you out deal with that collection company. If you enjoyed this video, I would encourage you to like it, subscribe, and maybe even leave a comment with a question. And until next time, peace.